For more than half a century, a really cool celestial mystery has been hiding right in plain sight. It kind of suggests our planet might have some company we almost never see.
So, does Earth have more than one moon? It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But the answer? Well, it's surprisingly complex. We all know our one big, bright moon, but the story definitely doesn't end there.
That's right. For decades, a huge scientific debate has been raging over two incredibly faint, super elusive objects. And they have the perfect nickname, the ghost moons.
So, where did this controversial idea even come from? Well, it all starts with just one astronomer who saw something that a lot of people thought was totally impossible.
Okay, picture this. It's 1956. An astronomer, Kazimir Kordylewski, is at an observatory, and he notices these two extremely faint glows up in the night sky. They were barely there, just these subtle brightenings, but they were in a place that, according to physics, should have been completely empty.
And this timeline really shows you the scientific tug-of-war that happened next. Kordylewski actually published photographs in 1961, but for the next 60 years, the results were just all over the place. Some astronomers said, yep, we see them, while many others, including a whole spacecraft from Japan in 1992, found absolutely nothing. The ghosts, it seemed, were really good at hiding.
The skepticism got so intense that it even made headlines in the super prestigious journal Nature. I mean, this title from 1969 just says it all. Are the liberation clouds real? Were they actually there, or was this whole thing just a trick of the light?
But this raises a huge question, right? How could something like a giant cloud of dust just hang out in space near Earth without drifting away or, crashing into something? Turns out, there's some really fascinating physics at play here.
This was the central problem. For any object to stick around for millions of years, it needs a stable place to be. And for these ghostly clouds, that stable place is basically a kind of cosmic loophole. And here's the solution. Lagrange points. Just think of them as these gravitational sweet spots that are created by the Earth and the Moon. In these 5 very specific locations, all the pushing and pulling from gravity and orbital motion just cancels each other out. It creates a perfectly stable place for a smaller object to get parked. Now, out of the 5 Lagrange points, 3 of them, L1, L2, and L3, are kind of like temporary parking. Stuff eventually drifts away. But L4 and L5, those are the premium spots. They're incredibly stable. And we see this happen elsewhere too. Jupiter, for instance, has collected over 10,000 asteroids in its own L4 and L5 points. And that's exactly where Kordylewski saw his faint glows, right at the L4 and L5 points of our Earth-Moon system, basically tagging along with our moon as it orbits the Earth. So for decades, it was this really frustrating cycle of maybe we saw it and nope, found nothing. But then this story takes a super dramatic turn, all thanks to modern technology. In 2018, a team of astronomers over in Hungary decided to tackle this old mystery, but with a brand new approach. They weren't just going to look for it. They were going to model exactly what they should be looking for. Their method was just brilliant. See, it didn't just rely on seeing some faint smudge. First, they built these computer models to predict the exact signature of light scattering off a dust cloud. Then, and this is the clever part, they used special filters that can detect polarized light. That's the unique fingerprint light gets when it bounces off tiny dust particles. So when they compared their actual photos to what the models predicted, it was a perfect match. And just like that, the 60-year-old mystery was pretty much solved. The evidence was finally strong enough. Kordylewski had been right all along. The ghost moons, they were real. Okay, but this is where we really need to bust a myth. The headlines went totally wild with stuff like, Earth has 2 new moons, but that's not quite the full story. Which brings us to the most important question of all. What exactly are these things? Can we really call them moons? Yeah, this comparison makes the difference totally clear. Our moon is a solid ball of rock. The Kordylewski Clouds, on the other hand, are these incredibly vast, spread-out collections of teeny tiny dust particles. They're enormous. We're talking tens of thousands of kilometers across, but they're so sparse they're nearly impossible to see. And they don't orbit Earth directly. They're just trapped in those gravitational parking spots. So it really just comes down to the terminology. A true moon orbits a planet. A quasi-moon, like that asteroid 2016 HO3, mostly orbits the sun but just happens to tag along with Earth for a while. A Kordylewski cloud is something else entirely. It's a long-lasting collection of dust that's just held in a Lagrange point. They're less like companions and more like, I don't know, celestial roommates? All right, so let's recap the big takeaways here. Yes, Earth has two massive, ancient clouds of dust that are sharing its orbit, parked neatly in the moon's stable Lagrange points. But, and this is a big but, they are not solid moons, they have absolutely zero effect on us, and their story is just a fantastic example of a scientific detective story that took decades and some seriously brilliant thinking to finally solve.
And for me, this is the real wonder of it all. If two objects this massive could hide from us for so long, right in our own cosmic backyard, it just makes you wonder, what else is out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to find it?